pleasure to be here. Patience is a virtue, as they say. First off, I just got to ask, where are we? What are we looking at right now?
So right now we're situated in beautiful Strathroy, Ontario on a wonderful late summer day. And we're in 27 acres of outdoor grown cannabis right now. WeedMD's established ourselves as one of the leaders in the brand new opportunity to grow outdoors. And we chose to plant 27 acres this year. And you can see I'm standing amidst a field in this section of our famous strain, Ghost Train Haze. And you can see some of these plants are well taller than I am, at about 6 feet tall, and are going to be producing a significant amount of cannabis for WeedMD and for ultimately Canadians this year. So we're super excited.
Perfect. Before we jump into the nitty-gritty here, just for our readers and our listeners who have been aware of WeedMD but perhaps haven't dived in, give us the pitch. Let us know who you are and what you're about.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I sometimes refer to us as the best kept secret in all of cannabis, at least in this Canadian industry. We've been around since 2014. We were licensed in 2016 as I think the 30th LP in the country. We have 2 facilities operating today, one right here in Strathroy, one about 40 minutes down the road in Elmer, Ontario. And the model for WeedMD these days is essentially that we have this site here in Strathroy, which we own 160 acres. We currently operate, we have 14 acres of greenhouse on site, of which 5 acres is licensed and operating as a full hybrid greenhouse. We have 18 beautiful model 10,000 square foot fully automated grow rooms in production right now. We have another 7 acres coming online in early 2020. And then right here in this field, we have 27 acres north of 20,000 cannabis plants approaching maturity. In fact, our harvest begins this week outdoors here in Strathroy. Our second facility in Elmer, just down the road, has been converted to what was originally an indoor grow into now a full extraction and processing site. So we've been extracting on site in Elmer since 2017. Right now, what we're doing is retrofitting that facility to a much larger scale. We've renamed it and dubbed it CX Industries. And the model with WeedMD now is that all of this biomass that we're producing here in Strathroy can go down the road to Elmer and ultimately find its way into extraction through the processing process and ultimately become value-added products for Cannabis 2.0 for Canadians later this year and into 2020.
Speaking of process, you had a big Q2. Let us know about your most recent quarter, and just walk me through operations.
Yeah, absolutely, happy to. So we recently announced our second quarter of 2019, and we came in at about $8 million in net revenues for the quarter, which was a very significant increase on Q1, which came in at just over $3 million. So we're doing the right things, and we're executing from that standpoint. I think equally, if not more importantly, our gross margins in Q2 increased from what was about 15% in Q1 to north of 45% in Q2. So we're now ironing out the efficiencies here in our production processes and our operations, and we're delivering product across the country in the medical platform, the rec platform, and critically, we're doing so at a much larger scale, and we're putting the numbers behind the operations here from a gross margin standpoint as well.
Speaking of, you just completed a $12 million financing. Give us a little bit about the money. Where's it going? Just give us a snapshot here.
Yeah, absolutely. So the financing will close next week. And we felt that the opportunity was here to bring in some great institutional investors, some long-term investors through this financing. And critically, it would allow us to execute on a couple of our plans, including completion of the retrofit out in Elmer, completion of what we've done here in Strathroy, and just some opportunistic working capital going forward. So the company has always been very careful with our capital in an industry that's been surrounded by a lot of hype and a lot of people spending money in various different directions and various different opportunities. We've tried to maintain our focus. Our MO has always been de-risk, get focused, and execute. And I think we've done that. This is a company that's raised significantly less capital over the years than many of our peers and most of our peers. And we felt that now was a good time to just shore up the kitty with another $12 million and execute on the business plan and make sure that we're comfortably doing so. And, the share count has been kept tight. We've always, again, just to reiterate the fact, we've been very careful with our capital. I think that as we progress through the end of 2019 and into 2020, it's companies like WeedMD that have been responsibly executing and are going to deliver results against that are going to come to shine.
For sure. Smart, measured growth. You can't put a price tag on that.
That's right.
We touched a little bit on, because you're not just growing, extraction's a big part of the operations. You touched on CX a little bit. Would you mind expanding on that for our readers?
Absolutely. Extraction's been a big part of our business going back, a couple of years or more. In Elmer, we have a fully licensed operation there, and specifically a fully licensed lab where we've been extracting using ethanol extraction for over 2 years. However, we decided that we would take a step forward, took what we had, took the licenses that we had, and take this property and revisit what the opportunity was. Because the opportunity now in 2019 and going forward is much different than it was when we first retrofitted that facility back in 2013. So it was originally an indoor grow site. We added on the lab, and now in 2019 we make the decision. Okay, let's take a step back in order to take a giant leap forward as a company with all the biomass that we grow here in Strathroy. The best and highest use of that facility and those licenses in Elmer is to convert that 26,000 square foot building into an extraction only, processing only hub, if you will, for not only WeedMD, but it will have the capacity to do same for other LPs and new brands coming to market.
I mean, just looking at this, the image here, there's no shortage of cannabis for you guys. Something to do with around 18 rooms expected to harvest in Q. Just take a look at it all. I gotta come visit you one of these days.
Please come. We start harvest this week out here, and we'll be harvesting progressively over the next month to 6 weeks. Mother Nature sort of being the ultimate arbiter of that. And we've actually built a new 50,000 square foot facility to process all this material. And so, I guess what I'm saying is the window is tight because in another 6 weeks, this will all be cut down.
Just a follow-up, as I said, 18 rooms expected to harvest Q4, no shortage of cannabis. What's the plan to move it all? There's I can tell there's no shortage, as I said.
Yeah, look, I mean, certainly the supply-demand balance here in Canada is in flux, as it will be for some time. Demand, I think, is only going to increase as more and more retail opportunities open up, especially here in Ontario, which we're seeing now with the advent of Cannabis 2.0. I think it's the opportunity to create value-added products, which Canadians are definitely demanding. So the demand side will be lifting. The supply side is still clouded and a bit of uncertainty out there. Certainly there's more coming online and anticipated to come online by way of production. But I think that history has shown that it's more difficult to do this, to execute on this than many people would like to believe. And so WeedMD is standing tall as one of the companies that has this Cannabis 1.0, and we've done it right. We know how to do it. So where is it all going to go? Ultimately, between the contracts that we have to distribute here in Canada on the rec side, 6 different provinces now with more coming. And then on the medical side, we have patients we deliver to across the country. We also deliver through Shoppers Drug Mart on the medical platform there. And then we are exploring international opportunities for this product as well. So we're very confident that not only as dried flower in that format, but ultimately as APIs, as crude oil, as distillates, and finally as finished products in Cannabis 2.0 in this country, we're going to be able to deliver on the promise of making sure that WeedMD again is standing at the forefront of this industry and is forced to be reckoned with.